This looks like a typical Summit EPA, a classic Minnesota brew, only it's not. Inside is a Synchronicity Wheaten Saison with lemongrass and orange peel. Yeah, that'll teach you to judge a book by its cover. Part of the inspiration for me to start my own home brewing came from a man we met in Bozeman, Montana. Only Tim Staub brews beer a lot better than I do because he makes it from scratch. That's right, he's up early every morning watering his fields and his hops and... Oh, he doesn't actually grow anything? Well, he does have his own well in his backyard that he draws water from, purifies it, no, he doesn't do that either. But we saw the yeast lab that he has where he actually reproduces his own yeast to use in... That's also not true. How exactly does this guy claim to brew beer from scratch then? Well, I guess we'll all have to watch episode 11, Bozeman, Montana, to find out.
The Brake-Side!
Presented by Friction Gloves.
Oh, hi there. My name's Tim Staub. I brew beer and play ultimate frisbee.
Before arriving in Bozeman, we sent an email out to the Bozeman Ultimate Yahoo group.
Unfortunately, the internet hasn't quite taken off in Montana yet.
Thankfully, I happened to be at the library, the only place in town with the internet, and was able to respond to Brake-Side's email.
Tim invited us to the Bozeman Bike Kitchen, where he volunteers twice a week. We then went out to Music on Main to meet the rest of the Bozo Ultimate team. Good evening. We are here at the Bozeman Bike Kitchen in Bozeman, Montana. This is where people within the community can just donate bikes. They'll fix them up and they kind of help people out so they can get an inexpensive ride. So right now, this bad boy just came in. She's got a bit of a busted frame here, as you can see. So Chris and I are just here kind of taking her apart piece by piece. Neither of us really know anything about bikes, so it's a bit of a struggle, but we'll work through it.
I've been living in Bozeman for 1 month now, and my living room consists of a recliner, a TV that doesn't get reception, and all of my brewing equipment.
Tim was nice enough to let us crash at his place for the night on the one piece of furniture that he owns. And also showed us how to brew good beer from scratch. Tim taught us that you cannot enjoy furniture without a good beer.
But you can enjoy good beer without furniture.
Before moving to Bozeman, I lived in the middle of nowhere, Washington, at a place called Holden Village for 1 year. It's not accessible by car. You have to take a boat ride to get there. At Holden Village, I met a man named Terry Sanderson who taught me how to make good beer from scratch. I'm poor, but Terry's book says, if I can make good beer from scratch, I'll never be poor again. So now I'm going to break down the 3 basic methods that homebrewers use to make their own beer and the time associated with each one. So the final product is bottled beer here at the end of the timeline. You could go to the grocery store and buy some if you wanted, but homebrewers like the satisfaction of making it themselves. The first method that a lot of homebrewers use is malt extract brewing. As you can see on the timeline, beginning here, bottled beer here, malt extract is closer to the end, requires less time and less equipment. The second method that a lot of homebrewers choose to use is all grain brewing, right here on the timeline. A little bit further away from the final product, requires more time and more equipment. And so the final method that very few homebrewers use is Terry's method, which is, as you can see, the farthest from the final product. Takes the most time and even more equipment. So the reason Terry's method takes longer is because it's from scratch. He uses raw barley and malts it. Basically tricks the barley into thinking it's growing by soaking it in a bucket for 40 hours, germinating it for 54 hours, and then drying it out. And at that point, you have malted barley, which you use to make beer. So the final step in the malting process is dehydrating or drying out the malt. Now I've got all the supplies to build my dehydrator, the wood, the insulation, some screws, but I don't have any power tools to actually construct it because I'm poor. But thankfully I have James and Chris here who are going to help me put it together so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. The design for my dehydrator is a 2 by 2 by 2 foot cube made out of wood, with plywood for the sides. The interior of the dehydrator will have 3 screen shelves, 1, 2, 3, made out of this screen material. The final component for the dehydrator is this portable space heater that I got at the thrift store. I'm going to take out the fan and the heating element and mount them inside this pipe and blow hot air into the back, dehydrating my malt. Now that the malt's been dehydrated, all there's left to do is mash, sparge, boil, chill, pitch, bottle, and enjoy.
Hey Tim, where'd you get all these medals?
Oh, these? I sometimes forget that I'm wearing them. Oh, these are just my homebrew championship medals. I had a first, second, third one time, and then just a plain old first the next. But
Just a plain old.
you do what you can.
It's hard to be first, second, and third all the time.
To quote Terry Sanderson, "You will never be poor if you can make good beer from scratch." For more information on how to make good beer from scratch, visit Amazon.com and buy this book, because $12 is a low, low price to ensure your financial security for the rest of your life.
And that concludes Season 1 of The Breakside. Check out what we did on the last leg of our trip, like standing in windy caves, meeting people in Mount Rushmore, meeting more people in the Badlands, and visiting the city with the largest ball of twine ever rolled by a single person.